Gather round, dads, it's time for a tale. Hand me a book and a warm pint of ale. Let's discuss writing and the literary gods with Dan Roberts on the Dadlit Pod.
Welcome to the Dadlit Pod, the literary podcast for guys who know that if your kid gets involved in hockey, you're screwed. You're not going to have a lot of time on your hands. Tonight, I'm joined by Joel Nedecky, who is a hockey player and a hockey dad. Joel has always loved stories. He spent his childhood playing hockey. It wasn't until university that he discovered a passion for all things fiction. He's a member of the Crime Writers of Canada, and his first novel, The Broken Detective, came out this fall from Run Amok Crime. Joel, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like I've been waiting for this one. It's been a long time coming. I'm excited.
I'm so sorry you had to wait. I believe it or not, if I had my druthers and I didn't have to go to work, I would just do Dadlit Pod all day
Oh, I bet.
because
Yeah, I bet.
it's so much fun to just meet people and
Yeah.
meet authors and chat with them. And I don't know if this is your experience. You're up in Winnipeg, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I am in suburban Washington, D.C. And so every one of my friends is 20 minutes to 40 minutes away. And the alternative to that is that I could do a Dad Lit Pod episode and make a new friend. I don't have to
Yeah.
go anywhere.
No, absolutely. I feel like that's one of the cool things about podcasts, especially, and for yourself, just being in the host chair so much, you get to meet different people and probably read their books and just get to know where they're from a little bit, and that's one of the things I love about books too. It's like I feel like through crime fiction, it's partly at least how I got to know some major cities around the world, about how the character interacts with the geography around them.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Your book, The Broken Detective, set predominantly in Canada, centered around a cult,
Yeah,
and well, you tell me about it. Tell me about The Broken Detective and sell it to
sure.
the dad lit audience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's yeah, the book's set in Winnipeg. Winnipeg is a city of about 900,000 people. It's dead
It's
center
pretty big.
in the middle. Yeah, no, it is. Right in the middle of Canada. There's actually a sign when you drive around the highway at one point on the perimeter highway where it says you are now in the longitudinal capital of Canada, or middle of whatever the words are there. So that's where it's set. But the story revolves around a private investigator who he's got some demons that he's fighting. He grew up in and out of foster care. His mom is still sick. She's still a heavy drinker and has all kinds of problems. He takes care of her actually. So when she gets assaulted by her boyfriend, Jake takes it into his own hands and he goes back and he gets some revenge and he hurts this guy. So he's going to jail. He's going to be sentenced. It's just a matter of how long he's going away for. So, thanks to a suspended sentence, which in Canada is where a judge grants you a little bit of time before you go in, just to get your affairs in order, he has 2 weeks to raise as much money as he can to help out his mom while he goes in. And during those 2 weeks, he's hired to find a missing woman, and the story goes from there.
Yeah, so you get a real adventure around central to western Canada,
Yeah,
which I think, well, first of all, it's beautiful out there. And you and I were talking about before this that Winnipeg was used for the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. And then, of course, due north of North Dakota, I
yeah,
believe was used for the movie Days of Glory.
Okay.
Yeah, which is a Thomas Mann. No, who is it a film of? Anyway, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
So basically, you're exploring central and western Canada, and you're exploring crime in central and western Canada. What is crime like in central Canada? Because that's an
Yeah.
interesting question. We have in that part of the country a lot of cattle rustling and meth.
Yeah. Well, it's
That's what we do for crime
yeah.
in that part of the country. What's crime like in that part of Canada?
In central Canada. Well, like the thing about Winnipeg is, like it was an important place about 100 years ago. Like it being in the middle with
Mhm.
the railway, it's located right on two rivers. So just transportation wise, it was an important place. And I guess the story goes it in the last 100 years, just as other places in Canada, other cities like Toronto and Vancouver have expanded and really turned into international cities. Winnipeg has very much, I think, fallen out of the limelight. And I feel like as a
Mhm.
city, a lot of us we have a bit of a chip on our shoulders towards some of the bigger places. But Winnipeg, until very recently, unfortunately, held the distinction of being the murder capital of Canada.
Oh
Um,
no, really?
yeah, so meaning that like per capita, again, per capita, in Canada for quite a few years, Winnipeg had the most murders. Now we're not anymore. We've fallen to like second or third on that list. But yeah, I mean, Winnipeg is a place where there's some money here, like there is in all places, but there's also some serious poverty. And I
Hmm.
think what I've experienced, I think just by watching the city and the people around me and reading and following the news and that, I think if people are finding themselves in tough situations for an extended period of time, I think it's going to lead to some bad results. And like you
Hmm.
mentioned, one of those bad results is crime. I think right now in our city too, there is a problem with meth specifically, which in the book, The Broken Detective, there's also a storyline with that particular drug. And yeah, like I wouldn't say it's a tough city. I wouldn't say that, but I would say in some ways there are tough aspects to it.
Hmm. So like there's a an undercurrent
I think
of
there is, yeah,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
I think the weather too, like our climate here is such that, like, I mean, right now we're having one of the mildest falls we've ever had. Like there's still no snow here, which is
Yeah.
very unusual for the end of November. But in the winter it'll get down to routinely -20, -25, -30 degrees Celsius. So for the Fahrenheit conversion, I'm not sure what that would be, but it's cold.
Hmm.
Yeah, so there is that feeling here that it's a little bit of a hard place to live, maybe, with some
Hmm.
of those things. And I think the people bear that out in just the way I mean, there's good people here. On the license plate. It says friendly Manitoba, actually, which is kind of a ironic statement. But no, there's definitely, if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you can definitely find yourself in some trouble.
Do you think that's Wild West in a way?
Yeah, like I think partly, like if you leave Winnipeg, and this is a feature of Western Canada in itself, like the closest city to us that has more than 50,000 people, we would have to probably drive 5 or 6 hours to get there, probably. So there's prairies everywhere, and there's a lot of people who still live rural as well. So
Hmm.
um, there's I read a lot of rural noir from American writers, and I think some of those same sentiments find their way into Canadian noir as well, like just like or just Winnipeg and Manitoba as places to live. I think the rural areas are a little bit more conservative in some ways. I think they like a little less governance in some ways. And
Yeah.
I think that
I
that's
think we
Canada
all,
and the US the same, right?
yeah, yeah, I think we all noticed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So,
That's
yeah.
Well, that's interesting. Just for reference, U.S. state due north, where is Manitoba?
It's right above North Dakota.
Yeah, that's what I
So,
thought. Yeah,
yeah. So when we used to, we haven't been there in a while now, but for us, it'd be maybe 45 minutes to the American border. And then,
interesting.
yeah, to get to Grand
Which
Forks,
is,
North Dakota,
uh,
about 2.5 hours.
by the way, the 900,000 people
Yeah.
is basically the population of North Dakota.
Yeah, probably is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because and to have that many people, why do you think so many people just congregated right there?
I think it has a lot to do going back to just the way Canada was formed with regards to how so many settlements. I mean, like most places, right? You first look for
Hmm.
the water. I think in a lot of ways, the relationship back then. I actually just read a book, and I'm gonna forget the title right now, of course, but it was about sort of a historical figure in Manitoba named Louis Riel, and just how he at the end of sort of the Hudson Bay when they were controlling this area and before Canada moved west, there was a
Yeah,
period of time where like sort of nobody owned this area.
yeah.
And Louis Riel and some people there in the Red River Rebellion, they actually kind of took control of this part of the province for a while, and it's just interesting to see how it all the like the history and the violence involved and the with the French and the English, the language. It's just fascinating. So I'm not sure if that's why so many people settled here after the railroad expanded and people moved from the east. I think that was a huge part of it. To be honest, is that um, people coming from Europe too, from Britain and from other places that had settled east wanted to move west because there was so much land, so much opportunity, and I think it just became at that time a kind of a hotbed for industry, and I think that's partly what attracted so many people.
Yeah, it's interesting because in that part of the country, like due south, right?
Yeah,
You don't get urbanity really until you get to
no,
like Kansas or
yeah, it's true.
Texas,
Yeah,
which interests me about Canada, where you have, Calgary, you
yeah,
have Winnipeg, and it's just sort of a fascinating thing that two different countries would sort of organize themselves from an urban perspective differently. And beyond that, I mean, you guys have the First Nation experience as well,
yeah.
which is pretty ubiquitous in all of Western Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. We have like Manitoba and Winnipeg specifically has the highest percentage of Indigenous people in any city in Canada.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of the population as well. So just back to your earlier question too, I think that's part of what it is too. There's just a lot of tribes that this is their land, and I think a lot of those people who were moved off the land to reserves have come back and made Winnipeg their home, and I think that also has kind of added to the population a bit as well. Yeah, but there
Yeah.
are some big cities in Canada. I mean, our population's still small. Like it's I don't know what it is now. I'd
I
say
think it's like
probably
30 million, right?
I think it's in the 40s now.
Oh, it's in the 40s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, probably somewhere around there. But yeah, like our entire province, I don't think has. I'd have to double check this, but maybe 1.5 million in Manitoba, and then most of
Hmm.
them live in Winnipeg. So it's a decent sized place, but it's nowhere near some of the big places in other parts of the world. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, how do you go about crafting a crime novel for a place like Winnipeg? Because you have a lot of depth in your novel.
Oh, thank you.
As I read it, there's a lot of Canadian culture, Western culture, and underlying that, the elements of sort of crime culture, as we talked
Yeah.
about meth and those sort of things. How do you go about taking that adventure and putting that into your novel?
Well, I think the first part for me was like I wanted to talk about the city, but I didn't want to do it in a way that was too overt or too preachy or, this is what Winnipeg's like. I really tried hard to just place those details subtly in little ways that
Oh yeah, yeah.
give people a sense of what the city's like without getting too on the nose. So
Hmm.
I think that was part of it. As far as the crime story goes, I don't know. I think I'm influenced by a lot of the books I read. I think a lot of the movies I watch, I try to incorporate the best parts of the detectives I like into the protagonist, Jake Joelson. He's sort of, I guess he's a combination of some of the broken characters that I have loved over the years. Some of the detectives, Matthew Scudder is one who I love, who Lawrence Block wrote him, and he's been in I think 20 books now that Lawrence
Hmm.
Block has written about Scudder. Even characters, detectives like Spencer, is a big influence on me as well. Everything Dennis Lehane does, I love. So I think I
What
try
are
to.
I've never heard of Dennis Lehane. Tell me about some of his books.
He started early 90s, maybe 93, 94 was his first series. And that was like a private detective series set in Boston. He's a Boston guy himself.
Oh,
His,
a New England boy like me.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd know some of his stuff, like Mystic River is the book that
Oh,
sort
yeah,
of blew
yeah,
him
yeah.
up, which is a masterpiece, in my opinion, as well.
Oh, yeah.
Shutter Island, he wrote. His most recent one, it just came out maybe summer of 24, Small Mercies. It's called. Great book as well. Really, really, really cool book about segregation in Boston and how they started busing. I think it was in the late 70s. They started
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
busing people to different schools and things, and they
Yeah, that
desegregated.
was the method of desegregating
Yeah,
instead of redistricting.
yeah.
They would just bus certain populations across boundaries. It didn't work out.
No, no, it didn't. And he takes that event like I think it's a real event. There's a photo on the front from an actual
Yeah,
protest, but he just weaves a story into the history of it, and he does a great job. So,
yeah.
yeah, as far as the crime goes, I try to use that for influence, and then I just invent all the other parts to fit, and hopefully, write a compelling story along the way.
Yeah, so what made you want to write crime? You're a Western, you're out in the West, you're a
I,
hockey player.
you know,
Uh, what inspired you to do crime instead of hockey romance, or
I
alternatively,
probably would have sold more books if I would have done hockey romance or something like that. Romance is always one of the biggest selling book, genres, I think.
well, I was gonna say Western romance, particularly
Oh
it's
yeah,
funny, it's funny. I was, when I got into this
yeah,
initially and decided I was gonna write books like a dummy, uh, before I realized just how hard it is.
yeah,
Uh, it was pointed out to me that Montana
yeah,
and books about Montana sell like hotcakes.
yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean books about Montana? And they're like, it just has to be about Montana. And
That's
I'm
interesting.
like, but what about Montana? Like crime in Montana,
Yeah,
romance in Montana, aliens. Nope. If you put Montana on it in the
yeah,
United States, old ladies will buy it. And then I went to my grandmother's house, and my grandmother is obsessed with romance novels. She's 85 years old. She lives by herself, and she just eats bologna and cheese sandwiches and
yeah,
reads romance novels. And damned if 75% of them aren't about Montana with a cowboy on the cover. And
yeah.
I
It's
thought, and I thought, what, 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 what? And I brought one home and I got 5 pages into it. I said, I can't fucking read this.
no, it's not for me. I think I had that same experience. Not with romance books, but I don't know. Like in high school, I would take like I was in some of the AP English courses and stuff, and
Yeah.
they would send me home with these books in the summer. It's like Tess of the Dubervilles or something. It would be like 700 pages or more. I don't know. I can't remember. It was like a brick, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't read the thing. And all through high school, I just fake read like that. And it wasn't until I got out, when I first found writers like there's a book, Lahane's first is called A Drink Before the War. And from him, I found a guy named George Pelicanos, who he wrote for a show called The Wire that I'm sure some of your listeners
Oh
will be
yeah,
familiar
yeah.
with because it's a
No, I'm
classic now.
45 minutes south of Baltimore. I know all
Yeah,
about The Wire.
absolutely, absolutely. So his early books, I took a lot from those. He has a private detective who drinks hard. He fights. He's got no
Mhm.
direction. He works. He's got a code he lives by, a philosophy, and he's a good person, you know. And I was always captivated by these guys, these characters. I guess being a young man, I wanted to be tough and I wanted to be cool and I wanted to, be good with women and all that stuff. And I I
Little
felt like
did we know that drunken
yeah,
detectives who don't keep regular hours
yeah.
actually do not have any success with women.
No, but I never saw it done realistically. And I finally found these guys where it was like they drank and then you saw the effects of the drinking. Like you
Yeah,
saw how they were down, they were out, they had to pull themselves together. They had like, I don't know, and these guys were writing about the world that to me felt real. And I
yeah.
just didn't get that from other books. And when I found them, then it's like music for me. When I find a band, then I go to the next band and then the next band. And then and you sort of
Mhm.
you find this little I don't know, group of musicians that you love. It's the same with books for me. Like I just bounce from one, and then all of a sudden you've read them all and you know about them, and it just becomes this cool thing. And it's almost like a you get momentum with your reading, and then you start to
Yeah.
I don't know, you start to get proficient in a certain area. And I think in crime fiction, that's just what I know. It's just what I know, so it's what I write.
Yeah, that's funny. Because in terms of detective novels, I I think everyone has their own detective sort of formula or
Yeah,
author that they just really love. And for me, I'm obsessed with Raymond Chandler.
yeah,
And the best thing to me about Raymond Chandler is that Philip Marlowe doesn't actually care if he solves the case,
yeah,
right? Like it's actually inconsequential to him. It's ultimately just existing, and part of existing requires one to pursue the case. And I think that from from a human perspective and from like a perspective of a person trying to find meaning, like it encapsulates the restoration of order ideal that underlies every detective novel, is
yeah,
that we seek to restore order, and he pursues it similar to like a puzzle. And at the end, there's no order, and he's always disappointed. But underlying that is the fun, right?
right.
Like he just keeps doing it. And I just love that about those novels. But yeah, no, it's what for example for you, because one of my writing philosophies personally is the idea that when I write something, what I want is for the action to be clear and for the reader to want to keep reading.
Yeah,
And so you can tell a lot of stories, but the thing that I find really grips readers is mystery. And so readers will give you a lot of leeway. if you present them with a mystery
For
to
sure.
explore. And I think fundamentally, that's why I've glommed on to it as a structural thing, that there's always a mystery.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. No,
yeah,
you're right. I think I forget which book it was, a craft book I read one time where they called it the therefore. So something happens,
yes,
therefore there, and then the next thing happens,
yeah,
therefore the next thing happens, and you start to string together all these little clues and details, and they cause the next thing to happen. But then at the same time, I think you have to, like, I think the mystery is important. And in the Broken Detective, I really try to, sort of layer the book where there is a mystery plot. Like the story is that Jake is trying to find this woman.
yeah.
She's just left this church that has her, thinking all these different things, and she's finally got out. So we don't know where she is. We don't know what she did. And Jake's trying to find her. And really, that's what he's trying to do. He goes from interview to
Yeah, it's a missing girl
it's a
story.
missing girl story, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the same time, I think, like, you're talking Chandler. I haven't read Chandler in a long time. Maybe
Most people read,
Big Sleep.
yeah, The Big Sleep. Yeah.
Yeah. My question about Marlowe is, does the character change throughout the books, or, like, I don't know how many books there is, or is it basically the same guy in all of them?
It's does he change? Well, my favorite
Yeah.
Philip Marlowe novel is actually the last one, which is called
Okay.
Playback, um, which is his sort of uh, realizing that the world is too big for him
Yeah.
is the ending of it.
I like that a
And
lot. I haven't read that one, but
yes,
I that
yeah,
just
yeah,
hearing
yeah,
you say that, like, that's the thing about crime fiction. Like, why I got into it too is I feel like I don't know if there's any other genre where you can make like you can bring in social issues. And I don't mean the hot button topic
yeah,
of the moment. I mean, like, just human issues that affect us all. Like you just mentioned there, like, this world is just too big for me. Like, we all have to figure
yeah.
out our what we make meaning of, what the world means to us, and what we're going to do with our time, how we're going to find value in our lives, how we're going to be a worthwhile, like, how we're going to get that sense of worth in our lives. And sometimes it
Mhm.
comes from work, sometimes it comes from being a dad, or being a husband, those things too. But for the character, I think crime fiction, it lets you explore that in a really interesting way. And then you put it in a city somewhere, and then you got that going on. And when you combine all those things, I guess that's just why I fell in love with it. And I don't know, I don't think it's ever going to stop. Like, I read outside of crime fiction too. Funny enough, I think it was James Wade you had on your show a little while ago. And
Oh,
yeah,
so you read James?
you know what? I got it. I have his book. I haven't read it yet, but I think you guys were talking about Cormac McCarthy, or somehow that he
Yeah.
ended up, and I've tried to read him, and I finally finished The Road, and I'm reading No Country right now. So I feel like
You
that's
see,
bringing me
now I
out of my,
feel bad because I sold a Cormac McCarthy book instead of a James Wade
no, I
book.
got his too. Yeah, you sold one of those too. Yeah, you sold one of those too. I got the ebook too, so it's waiting for me on my phone, but
Yeah.
I haven't read it yet. So, but no, just that whole love of crime fiction came from all those different factors.
Yeah, I mean James is the same. It's Southern in his case,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's and I think to that extent the South comes with certain honor codes, right? So
yeah,
the thing that sort of separates Northern noir from Southern noir, uh, you still have poverty.
yeah.
Southern noir comes with honor codes and comes with
Okay,
status. The beauty of being born and raised in the North, like you and I were,
yeah,
is that there isn't status. We sort of reject that. there's still racism,
Yeah,
there's still prejudice, but the idea that an individual, due to their wealth or their position in the community, is above interjection or repute
yeah,
is just it's just not a northern concept. Um, and in some places like, New York or Chicago,
yeah,
there are people who are so wealthy
yeah,
that you can't touch them. But in Boston, in Maine, in in Montreal, in Toronto, in Winnipeg, or Vancouver and Seattle, that's just not the case, right? I mean, not in the 20th century, or do you think otherwise?
I don't know. I mean, like a city like Vancouver, like one of my favorite writers who I actually got a chance to meet him in the fall of 2024. I got invited to read at a Noir at the Bar event in Vancouver.
Oh,
Uh,
fun.
yeah, it was awesome. It was right at the end of October in 24, so just over a year ago, and I met a bunch of people, like really successful writers. Like Sam Weeb is the writer I'm talking about, and he's got about, how many, probably five in the Dave Wakeland series now, and he talks
Hmm.
a lot about in Vancouver how like you have people in a place who can't even afford to live in the place where they were born anymore. Like that city has
Hmm.
exploded so much, and just the prices of homes there, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Like a house you would think, in Winnipeg, that might be a few $100,000, there it could be 2 or 3 million, depending on where it
Hmm.
is. So I don't know if that necessarily means it's a hierarchy of wealth, but I definitely think that the gap in Canada is growing as well,
Hmm.
like the wealth gap, and I definitely think like the price of a lot of things has gone up, as far as food and just like mortgage rates and things like that. So I do think we're living in a strange time in some ways, and I'm not sure if this is even the question we were talking about, but I feel like it's an interesting time because I think most people, like a lot of people, have more than they've ever had,
Yeah.
but the perception is that things are worse now. And I
Hmm.
teach high school, so I work with a lot of young people, and some of their worldviews at a very young age, to me, seem very um,
Dour.
dour. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't remember feeling that way when I was 16 years old. I just don't.
You want to know what happened? Unfortunately,
Yeah.
and because I was at the forefront of this, and I was interested in becoming a high school teacher, and that was something I always wanted to do. And then I got my master's degree in history, and I went into this teacher certification program, which is the only teacher certification graduate program in the state of Maine, which is a state of, 1.2, 1.4 million people.
Hmm.
And it was from the beginning grievance politics
Yeah.
presented as educational licensure.
Hmm.
Like, to be an instructor, um, you were basically told that what you needed to do was to become a social worker and to embrace the
Yes.
politics of grievance. And I left. I couldn't do it.
No.
I I didn't believe in that from a philosophical position, right?
Yeah.
I guess I was one of these classical people that thought like, oh, well, public education provides a person with the coherent vision and knowledge of what is necessary to succeed, right?
Right.
Because that was my perspective. That was how I did it philosophically, because
Right.
I went to public school and I was a public school kid. And to
Yeah. Me too.
realize that there was a new philosophy around that, that was contingent upon grievance vision presented as equity,
Yeah.
where instead of the idea that we should treat people with equity
Right.
and we should, you know, find the most, sophisticated scientific ways of teaching kids and presenting them with success. And this was the only program in the state of Maine.
Hmm.
And I was like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah.
I just philosophically couldn't get behind it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I see some of that too. I think what helps me after having done it, like I'm in my 20th year now of teaching. So
Well, congratulations on that.
thank
That's
you.
huge.
Yeah, it's been a little while. So think I
Just
think
a
part of
tad.
just a tad, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It does go quick though. But in some
Do you
ways,
get
in some ways.
do you get your summers off?
Yeah.
Oh, really? So you're on
Yeah.
an agrarian schedule like the
Yeah.
United States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We a little bit different the timing of ours. Like we go till the end of June and then we get July and August.
Yeah.
Work starts again in September. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but for me, I think I believe like you're talking philosophies again. I think I believe in what I teach. And I think the times where I don't enjoy it, I think that's where maybe some of that gets a little blurry, like you're saying, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as teaching high school English, like I still believe that stories are, I don't know, the way to connect with people. And if you meet
Mhm.
somebody and you start talking and you start telling stories, like you know, like you and I did here before the the record button was hit, you start to feel like just closer to them a little bit, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think that that young people need those stories just to relate to have for entertainment, to identify with. And I'm a huge
Hmm.
believer in just books. The power of books, I think, is something that you know in many parts of life with AI and with summaries on YouTube for everything. I think a lot of the value of that has been
Yes.
diminished. You know, so I do think you know being on the Dad Lit Pod, of course. Um, that there's still a lot of
Yeah.
people reading and there's still like you'll find young people who if you can get a good book in their hands, one that they're going to read, they will fall in love with reading. It's just a matter of getting that book to them, you know. So I don't know, I guess that's how I look at the job a little bit. But
Well,
yeah,
I'm gonna want to talk more about this because
yeah,
you're on the forefront of dadlit potitude.
sure.
But
Yeah,
as a person who's putting the books in front of them,
yeah,
I completely agree with you. I think that there's a difference, for example, between um the sort of grievance and equity vision versus presenting a wide range of literary options to kids.
right,
Like I loved The Power of One. I loved all the things I learned about South Africa.
yeah,
I love South African history. I'm obsessed with it.
huh.
And the idea that some kid from Maine would, you
Yeah,
know, just like learn a little bit about South Africa and then become obsessed with it, like right up from just the earliest, parts of human civilization or human evolution, all the way to, Nelson Mandela and the breakdown
right,
and to the fact that when I finally got to go over there, it was a transcendent experience for me. I think that it has so much value to learn and to read literature from other places. The I heard this great quote where oh, I forget who I was listening. It might have been Andrew Gold, who's a British podcaster, YouTube guy. And he was a cult expert. And he talked about how and what is the best method for knowing that you're not in a cult. And the best method for knowing you're not in a cult is to join a bunch of cults. Because if you join a bunch of cults and you ingratiate yourself and you ask them questions and you know, you realize that there is a wide breadth of knowledge to be engaged with, and you're much less susceptible to dogmatism and to all those ideas. But
Yeah.
you are a Canadian English teacher
Yeah.
in high school who's been
Yeah.
doing it for 20 years.
That's right.
Who's on the list? What's your favorite book to teach?
Oh, favorite book to teach. Wow. That would be right now, currently, I'm
Yeah.
taking a lot of joy out of teaching Frankenstein,
Well,
uh,
that's hot.
which I'm teaching. It's the grade 12, it's the honors class. So I wouldn't do that
Hmm.
probably in another class, but I love that book. We actually, there's a new Frankenstein that just came out, a new movie too that
Yeah,
just
I was
came
gonna
out.
say
Yeah.
it's hot
So
in the street.
brand new there. Um,
Do you
it would
explain to
be,
the kids that Mary Shelley was introduced to the concept by the fact that an Italian guy attached a frog leg to a battery, and she was like, "Oh, it'll work."
is that true?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's the scientific basis for Mary Shelley's,
How she,
science
yeah,
fiction vision,
yeah,
combined with the Jewish parable about the golem in Prague.
yeah.
That's where sort of Frankenstein came from.
Wow,
It's a
that's interesting.
combination of those two.
Yeah,
One, which was the revelation that muscles can be activated by electrical pulses.
yeah.
The other being a Jewish folktale
Hmm.
from the 18th century in Prague.
Interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really interesting. I didn't know that. So I that's kind of what I'm liking right now. I also like teaching the kite runner. I think that's been
Hmm.
one I've enjoyed over the years. There's a book called Keeper and Me by an indigenous author named Richard Wagamis who passed away a number of years ago. But I love teaching that book. It's very low on plot.
Yeah.
It's very much a book about this young man. He gets out of prison again, which is kind of funny because that's what happens in my book, or he's going into prison anyway. But this guy gets out, he goes home to the reservation where he's never met his family and stuff, and it's just about him figuring out who he is. So
Hmm.
great
So
book.
similar to the things they carried
Absolutely.
is a big one that we do, which is, I mean, it doesn't have a plot,
Right.
but is effectively a novel about the American experience in Vietnam. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I haven't read that one either. As far as other books go, I can get into the classics too. Like I'll usually have Animal Farm in one of my one of the
Mm.
courses. Fahrenheit 451 is still a great book for me. I think it's brilliant. Um, yeah, those are a few of the I guess top top contenders right now.
Yeah. What Canada has a cultural tariff.
Yes.
How's that affect teaching English in
Wow, the
high
weird thing
school?
about like I talk to students about this too, and I don't think they even understand, but like if a person at the end of their day, like if a Canadian at the end of their day went through all the music they listened to, the shows they watched, the books they read,
Yeah.
there would be probably zero Canadian content. Almost almost none. It's a very strange place. It's a very strange
Yes.
place. So in every course, like I'll try to incorporate at least one text that is by a Canadian author just because
Yep.
it's so rare. It's so rare. The odd musician, people will find, but really it's mostly from other places.
Yeah, but I was going to say there's a legal standard
Oh, okay.
of TV and radio, but the other side is that Canada has provided brilliant comedy. I
Absolutely.
mean, it's just astonishing how many brilliant Canadian comedians.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm trying to think of. I just put Mordecai Richler
Yeah.
on my Christmas wish list. I'm gonna read Barney's story. Is it
Okay.
Barney's story?
I don't know that one. I think, did he write The Apprenticeship of Brilliant
Yes,
Habits?
yes,
That's the one I've read.
yeah,
That's the one I've read by him. But no, you know what? Canadians, I think as a people, which is, we're, I guess to generalize, I'd say the sense of humor is, it's people from all over the world too. So I think
yeah,
each culture has their own little unique sense of humor. But I think together, I think a lot of us do grow up in funny households. For me, my dad is, he's a funny guy. He's a serious man as well. So
yeah.
I think one of the things in my book, and it's something I'm going to try to do more of in the future, I think is like blending that serious demeanor with the humor, and just having
Yeah.
some funny scenes here and there. So yeah, I think a lot of the once you get to a certain point, a lot of the Canadian comedians they head south
Because
for
that's where the
yeah,
money is.
for the
Yeah.
money and the yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I was watching Who Killed the Montreal Expos.
Oh, the documentary.
Yeah, yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
seen that, but I saw the icon and yeah, so
Yeah,
looks
yeah. And they were talking about how Bronfman didn't have enough money to compete with the American baseball owners. And
yeah.
I was like, I thought Bronfman was like the richest guy ever. What what's going on with Bronfman?
I don't know, but when I was in grade 10, the Winnipeg Jets, like our pro hockey team in the NHL, was sold to I forget who now. I guess an owners group, and they moved to Phoenix. So we didn't get a
Savage.
yeah. So I
Absolutely
understand
savage.
how like and it was about money and building a new arena and all the other politics of it. But
Yep.
I can remember that vividly. It had like a massive impact on the city. So
Yeah,
I
but
think
the Jets are back, right?
they're back. They came back 2011, I believe. They're in their 15th season, and that
Were
was
they funded by the BlackBerry guy?
no. The owners here, Mark Chipman and a guy named David Thompson, who's one of the richest people in the world, I believe, a
Yep.
billionaire. But he's not the face of the ownership group. They bought the
Yep.
Atlanta Thrashers and they moved the team from
Oh,
Atlanta to Winnipeg. So that's how that all came to be. But I know Ball Silly. I think he was involved in a team for a while, or he tried to get a team somewhere, but
yeah.
I don't think that ever turned into a real thing.
Yeah. But of course he was the BlackBerry guy.
He was,
Yeah.
yeah, which was huge for a while. BlackBerry was like the biggest
Oh
uh,
yeah, I remember
handheld
it
device in
was
the world for a while.
yeah. That's so hockey in Canada. Let's talk
Yeah,
about it because
sure.
you're a hockey guy
Yeah,
and a hockey dad.
I am. Yeah,
Uh,
it's
Give me your schedule as a hockey dad in
as a
Canada.
hockey dad right now.
Yeah, what does your day look like?
It depends on the week. Like this last weekend, we had a tournament that my son was in. He's just U11, so that means 9 and 10 year olds. So he's 9 years old, and he
Yeah.
was in a tournament. So we played Friday night. It was in a little town about 35 minutes from where we live. So we drove out there Friday night, played. Woke up Saturday, drove back out there, played, drove home for a few hours, drove back out there Saturday night and played, and then got up. We played at 7:45 at night, and then had to be on the ice at 8:30 the next morning. So for 9 year olds, that's a pretty tight turnaround. They played 3 games in 20 hours. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, when's he practice?
When he practices, probably twice a week, so he'll
Yeah.
practice. It's not quite at the level that it could be in a few years.
Yeah.
It's my first year not coaching too, so that's been a bit of an adjustment, to be honest with you. It's been
Oh, so you were the coach before.
yeah, for many years. And
How
it's funny because we're
when
talking hockey, but
yeah.
I don't like it's. I heard you say before how you were obsessed with it was
Well, no,
South African history, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Like
love South African history.
like
It's
that's how I
fascinating.
feel about like crime fiction and writing. And
Yeah.
I never had that level of obsession for hockey after I was probably, oh, I don't know, maybe 14 or 15. It started to wane.
Yeah.
Like, I still like the game now, and I understand the value of young people playing it and whatnot, but
Yeah.
I've never had that level of obsession with it. So it's actually been kind of this weird experience for me trying to guide my son through it now and have him enjoy it and maybe feel less pressure than I felt. And sometimes the things that you went through, you don't want your child going through those same things. So I
Like waking up at 5 a.m.
well, that I don't mind. That I don't mind. I get up early all the time. But just some of the stress of it being so competitive, so young.
Yep.
Um, it's not always easy to be in the hockey dressing room either. It can be a very cutthroat environment for young people, and there's lots of stuff that goes on that
Yep.
I don't know. There's lots of good and there's lots of stuff that's not good too.
Well,
So
that's you see, this is what I'm talking about. Like
yeah,
if you want to do some crime that's like super original,
yeah.
youth hockey crime.
I I have an idea
Oh, do you?
for a
Exactly. That's what
for a
I'm
book
saying.
that's going to be my hockey book, and I don't
Yes.
know. Like I haven't started this book yet because I feel like I wrote The Broken Detective years ago already, right? Like
Yeah.
since then I finished two other books. I'm on a fourth one now, and I feel like I've gotten better. I hope I've gotten better, and
Oh, you get better every time.
I think
Yeah.
yeah, like, yeah, okay, that's kind of what I'm
You get sharper.
yeah, a little bit more experienced and sharper. And I think the hockey book is going to require me to have a little more skill that maybe I didn't have when I wrote that first
Mhm.
one. If that makes sense, like it's going to
No,
be
no, it makes complete sense. I've
yeah,
I've thought about this. I want to write I want to write this book, this horror novel about two veterans who are British,
yeah,
who are a father and son. But I really want to be able to capture the dialogue. And
yeah.
it's so important. It's so crucial to capturing the spirit of the book that like I've started it. It's all outlined. I know the
Yeah.
whole story. I can describe every scene to you, but I do not have the British colloquial dialogue. And they're both British. They must be British contextually, and there's nothing I can do about it. I
Hmm.
need to learn that in order to write that book. Yeah.
So how would you go about doing that? Like, would you read
I've
from
started reading he's so good, Mick Herron novels from Slow Horses.
Slow Horses, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, Mick Herron's because I've become really into analyzing what what you can gain from
yeah,
reading someone. And Mick Herron captures the sort of colloquial linguistic and class differences in British society very
okay,
well. So, depending on who's talking and the way he writes the dialogue, you can tell the class and the station and the sort of ideology of the British character, which is an interesting thing. You and I have accents, right?
yeah,
You have a Canadian accent. I have like a New England accent that's been transplanted. So I think say things like rum instead of
yeah,
room. But in Britain, there is so much wrapped up, like from a vocabulary perspective, from a cadence perspective in class and where you went to school and where you're from that particularly with mass immigration and all these other things that just capturing that is so essential to giving a character sort of authenticity. And I think of all the things Mick Herron does, because he actually writes very straightforward plots as I see them. But what he really does is he gives the characters depth
Yeah,
in his dialogue. And that's really interesting to me. And
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I
So I
think,
can empathize with
yeah.
your desire to like want to learn and to familiarize yourself. So what's keeping you from writing the hockey book?
Well, I think there's two things that just come to mind. The first is, like I said, I don't think I've been good enough, and I maybe I'm approaching it so soon, but I think that has to do with me. Like I can capture the language, I can capture the intricate details of how the guys talk and all that stuff. But I
Yeah.
think for me, it's the structure of the book. And if I'm going to write it from multiple points of view in third person, that's something that I did it for my second or the last book I wrote that hasn't been out anywhere or anything yet. We'll see what happens with it, but and it was a real challenge for me just to write from those different characters' points of view. So that I think is one. I'm not sure exactly how I want to tell the story, first
Yeah.
person or the third person. So that's the first. The second one that, if I'm being honest, is probably the real reason or the number one would be that I don't want it to be I don't want it to be a book about hockey that is critical, like critical in a way that isn't fair. And I think I've always had this love hate thing going on with hockey. So I
Hmm.
feel like I have to get to a place where I'm mature enough and old enough and maybe have some distance from it where I can look at it and write a book that maybe has that in and around it, as a
Yeah.
tone, but isn't what the book is about. And that's something that maybe I don't think I could have done up until this point. So um whenever I do write it, I want it to be I don't know, I want it to be honest, but I also want it to be I don't know if objective is the right word. That's the word that's coming to mind right now. But I don't
Yeah.
want it to be like any kind of agenda or nothing like that. And I feel like maybe it would have been like that if I wrote it when I was younger.
Yeah. Yeah, because it'd be less about character, more about opinion.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. And I think
Yeah.
I'm also still trying to work out my experiences with hockey. I think I spent so much time with it, and I feel like in some ways, like I have this relationship with it where like there's part of me that wishes I would have worked harder, I would have done more,
Hmm.
because I think I was probably a guy who like I had a lot of natural ability, but I didn't really put in any work to develop that. And you can
Yeah.
go only to a certain level where where everybody's good, and then all of a sudden, you're just one of many. And so I think that's part of it. And I think on the other side, there's like a small piece of me that kind of wishes like maybe I would have just spent the time doing something else. Like maybe I could have started, like I don't know, like
Yep.
just I had other interests too, and you can't develop them in the same way. I don't think when you're so into something.
I think it's funny because when I got to my senior year in high school, because I was a 3 season track athlete and I was a distance athlete,
Oh, okay.
which was grueling.
Yeah.
Distance is grueling. Um, you no matter what you do, you're running, 4 to 10 miles every day.
Wow.
And that just takes time, you know what I mean? And in high school, like there's that experience and I was good at it and I was well liked and I was rewarded with leadership and all those things. And then my senior year, during the winter, I did a play. I did Macbeth because my
Mm.
friend was doing it. And I just did it on a lark. I didn't care. And I had so much fun doing it. And I developed a an appreciation for the play and for the experience. And not to mention, I got a lot of female attention.
Yeah. Which
And
character did you play?
I played Duncan.
Oh, okay, so the king.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, the king. Because I was a senior,
Yeah.
I was class president, I had a
Yeah.
lot, I had like a ton of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I had a certain gravitas.
Right.
And so I played Duncan, and then
Yeah.
I played First Murderer because I was also
Okay.
one of the biggest people,
Yeah.
and I could lift up Banquo and throw his ass off the
Yeah.
stage.
That's important when casting, that's for
It
sure.
is very important when casting that role. We threw
Yeah.
Banquo off the stage, and he made a lot of noise,
Oh, I
and
bet.
there were audible shrieks
Yeah.
of me rolling this poor guy. I think his name was Ryan Griffin, of me just pushing Ryan Griffin off the stage onto
Yeah.
some mats. Uh, and I just had so much fun with that. And it
Yeah.
was such a different experience. And it was great.
You know
And
what
so I can
yeah.
empathize with that.
I had a similar experience too. Like I before I like even when I was playing hockey in high school, I mentioned how I wasn't reading, but I fell in love with movies. So for me, it was like
Hmm.
Reservoir Dogs is probably the movie that really when I saw it, it wasn't when it
That's a
came.
great movie.
Yeah, so it came out in '92, but I didn't see it. I think it was '95, and it's dramatic to say, but honestly, my life changed after that. I'd never seen a movie like that where it was so dialogue heavy. It was
Hmm.
funny. It was intense to the point of being almost scary. It was
Well, it's a
clever.
play. It's
It
a
was
stage
it was
play.
just I had never
Yeah.
seen anything like it. It blew my mind. And I remember then I fell into all these like independent filmmakers, the Kevin Smiths and the Richard Linklaters and the Robert
Yeah.
Rodriguez movies and then I fell into the Scorseses and the Michael Manns and got into all those guys. So I think my journey to fiction and storytelling kind of came from film, and then eventually, once I found books, it
Oh
became
yeah.
this other thing. But um, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, as a young guy, the idea of like writing a novel is inconceivable.
It's
I'm
impossible
I'm
for
s-
me. It was. Yeah.
I'm always shocked when like young guys in their 20s, like come out of MFA programs and write
Yeah.
novels. And I'm just like, man, no.
No, no. If I would have, if I no,
Nope.
my book in my 20s would have been something else. I
It
couldn't.
would have been like
I
four
couldn't.
pages.
Yeah, it would have been bad. I mean, I tried before. I think we all have a lot of writers have a couple books kind of tucked away or somewhere that are just
Yeah.
terrible. Um, no, I didn't have the focus or the just the life experience to write anything of meaning and
Oh
value.
yeah. It's so weird. I see like young guys, um, and I'm like, man, you haven't got your heart broken enough.
Yeah,
You haven't lived in enough places. You
yeah,
haven't, fucked up enough,
exactly.
to just like know or to see or to do and to be there. And, I started writing a little before my 40th birthday,
Yeah.
as like me and my best friend decided during COVID we were going to write detective novels. I couldn't have written a detective novel before then, like really and truly, and encapsulated sort of what humanity feels like.
Well, that's the point. You need a through line, I think, to any book, or not maybe not any book, but the books I like. You need it has to say something about just being alive. It has to say something about the experience of being a human being, as
Yeah.
funny as that sounds or cliche or whatever. It just it has to. And for me to really enjoy a book, there has to be that in there. And I don't think that comes after you've, like you said, you've made some huge mistakes. You've had some bad things happen in your life, some good things too.
Yeah.
For me, being a parent, I think is was a huge moment too, because that it changes you in a way it's hard to explain. I think I want my kids to know me too, and I feel like my
Oh
parents'
yeah.
generation, like of course we know our parents, but I think they were more closed off maybe than my wife and I are with our kids a little bit. Um,
Hmm.
so that's something that I've been conscious of.
I
Maybe
think I
they'll read
think
my books one day. Who knows?
yeah, I think our generation is so love first. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? We are so like love first.
yeah,
You know, I don't know what it was about the boomers and like the
yeah,
way they're, it's just complete inability
yeah. Well,
to let millennial kids know
yeah,
that like that love was the primary. I
yeah,
think because they just dumped us off um with like babysitters and stuff because they were making money, and I respect that. You know what I mean? But like the millennials are so love first. I've never seen anything like it.
I think like I remember my mom told me I walked to school on my first day of kindergarten. She told me, and I was like, "There's zero chance we would let our kids
Oh
near
yeah, no,
do
no,
that
no.
now." And
Yeah.
I think a
Well, we
huge
wouldn't want to,
no,
right? Because bringing them there and being there with them is affirmative.
yeah, yeah. I think that's
Yeah.
I think everything is like that now. I think
Yeah.
it's just different. It's just different. It's not how we were raised necessarily, but I think we're more involved, in our kids'
Hmm.
lives maybe than they were. And I don't mean that as like some big criticism or something. I guess it is in a way, but it's just the way it was. I think that um, we're more hands-on in a lot of ways, and especially dads, like especially the way dads are
Oh
now
yeah.
is different. Like my wife does too, but I know we read to our kids every day, and my son is just getting into reading now on his own, where he's finally starting to like sit and read a little bit by himself, and just to see that is super cool. We spend time in libraries, we got books laying around the house, and I don't know, those things are important to us too. So like it's the hockey thing. I think being active is important. Like my daughter is in dance, and I do believe in it. Like I love working out myself now. I don't like playing sports actually, but I like being fit. But I think the intellectual part has to be nurtured as well, and I think it's just that
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah, no, 100%. My daughter is also in dance. So I have a tap and ballet performance to
Oh,
look
we got ballet
forward
too.
to.
We got ballet, jazz, hip hop,
I
whole bunch.
have all that to look forward to.
Yeah.
But even then, I think that dance, drama, all of these things, and I know in America, the prospect that the drama kids have taken over. I don't think the drama kids have actually taken over. Most of my drama friends have gone on, and they're all, bartenders and waiters, and one of them is a very prominent drag queen, and to that extent, at the same time, the other side is the other half of the drama kids are scientists, very confident speakers, very confident and engaged. And I think that there's so much there. Who knows what our kids are going to do? They're
No,
going to be
it's
so much more confident and
yeah.
like competent and ready to go than we were, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think there's something to that for sure. I think like we talked about the world earlier being people having different outlook, but I also think there's a lot of excitement for the future too. There's
Oh yeah.
a lot of things that are available to us now that we can do, that kids can do, that young people can do, have access to, that are opening up the world in different ways,
Oh,
that I
infinite.
hadn't even considered when I was their age. So
Well,
yeah,
if we
no,
can
I don't know. It's going
convince
to be
them,
interesting.
if we can convince them to read, they have
Yeah,
infinite access to literature.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And from all over the world too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's from everywhere, all kinds of stories. Like I'll read crime fiction from, like, I've read, I can't remember the names. But I can remember Chinese writer who moved to the U.S., but he writes, like, his books are set
Hmm.
in China. I can remember reading, obviously, lots of British people, like Yo Nesbo, who's, oh, where is he from? Is it Norway? I think he's from.
Hmm.
People like there's Icelandic noir out there. There's South African noir. There's books from all over the place that just give you a little glimpse into that world.
Yeah. Well, Joel, plug your book. Sell it
Okay,
to the dads.
sell it to the dads. Okay,
the
I think
the
it's a
the
book that's got
dad literati.
the literati. Okay, here it goes. I think it's a great book for dads because it's got um, it's got a compelling main character who who knows he's in a situation where he has to change, but he doesn't know how. It's got action. It's got great dialogue. It's got a little bit of romance in there, a little bit of sex, a little bit of swearing, a little bit of street fights, a little bit of drugs, a little bit of drinking. It's kind of got all those different things, and I feel like dads can grasp onto that stuff, whether they've been involved in that themselves or not, um, and just enjoy the ride. It's a mystery ultimately, and I think it's one that people will like.
Well, I liked it, and I'll describe it as a crime-filled foray through central and western Canada, with some astute observations about humanity.
Oh, I love that. I'll take it, man. That, that's an apt descriptor. I like it.
Yes. Thank you, Joel. This has been an episode of the Dad Lit Pod. Go out and get the Broken Detective.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Our time together has come to an end. It's time to return to your wife, kids, and friends. It's time to pick up those books you forgot while you wait for the next Dad Lit